Hey YouTube, this is Primetime Pokemon. In this video, I'll be reviewing and summarizing the Sky Guardian theme deck. This is a fire and fairy type theme deck for Fates Collide. The main Pokemon in this deck is Lugia. So in the first part of this video, or the majority of this video, I will be reviewing this deck, and then at the end I will state the rules to entry for the giveaway. And of course, last month, I reviewed and summarized the Battle Ruler theme deck and gave that away. I private messaged the winner right at the end of May. So now it's June. So at the end of June, I will be giving this theme deck away by private messaging the winner as well. So I will turn the box around to show the back. And as you can see, here are the cards in the deck and everything that you'll find in this deck box. The winner would get all of this. But I can read the summary of the deck. It says, Fire and Storm. Unleash a storm of battle with the legendary Pokemon of the seas, Lugia. With the fiery wings of Moltres and the mystic flame of Delphox, you'll burn through opposition in a flash with the Sky Guardian theme deck. Light it up. So, a lot of legendary Pokemon here in Moltres and Lugia plus Delphox. So I'll open it up here. And I have opened this deck already. And theme decks usually range in price from $10.99 to $12.99 depending on where you get the theme deck from. But I'll show everything that's on the inside and then go through each and every card. So right on the top here is a playmat. So if you're just a beginner, you can use that to play the game. It has the rules on there and everything. Here's some damage counters, burn marker, and poison marker. Here is a checklist and sort of some information about the Fates Collide set. Here is the deck box that includes 59 cards on the inside, plus the one in the preview window would make 60. I like this coin quite a bit, silver and blue in color. As much as I like Lugia, I'm not a big fan of the Lugia break from the set. I just don't like the look of a gold Lugia. So here is the online TCG code card. It unlocks the deck for the online TCG. And here is the featured card in this deck, Lugia. As you can see, a Shard's hollow pattern to it. So now I'll get on to the actual review, go through each and every card. And if you're just watching this and didn't watch the Battle Ruler theme deck, I gave that a 2 out of 5. I didn't think it was that great of a theme deck. Usually theme decks are pretty average, but I think that was a bit underwhelming. So I'll go through the cards here, starting off with the Lugia. There are 2 Lugia in this deck. And of course, you can always add and remove cards here. You just have to keep the number at 60, so you could always add Lugia Break to this deck. But 2 Lugia. It is a colorless type Pokemon, 120 HP. It does have an ability and then 1 move. Its ability is called Pressure. It says as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, any damage done by attacks from your opponent's active Pokemon is reduced by 20. So if this card's in the active Pokemon spot, it's 120 HP. You'll see them even higher. Then Intensifying Burn for 3 colorless energy cards does 60 damage plus 60 more damage if you're facing an EX card. So ideally you'd get 3 energy cards on Lugia on the bench, and then if your opponent puts in an EX card into the active Pokemon spot, you'd move in Lugia and then do 120 damage a turn with Intensifying Burn. So 2 Lugia. And then Snorlax. There are a couple of my favorite Pokemon right here. Snorlax, another colorless type Pokemon, 140 HP. Usually is the case with Snorlax, really slow and has a high retreat cost, but does require all colorless type energy. Toss and Turn is the first move that does 30 damage plus 90 more damage if Snorlax is already asleep when it uses Toss and Turn. So it can do 120 damage if Snorlax is attacking when it's asleep. And then Swallow, for 4 colorless energy cards, does 50 damage. And it says heal from this Pokemon the same amount of damage you did to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you can do 50 damage, it heals 50 damage from Snorlax. So pretty typical of Snorlax. It does a fair amount of damage for a lot of energy cards. It's debatable as whether to keep that card in this deck. You could easily remove it and put in Lugia Break instead. So now we go on to Meowth. There's not a Persian in this deck, so Meowth there are 3 of. 70 HP, which is a good for a starter type Pokemon. However, it does require 2 colorless energy cards to attack, and it says, this attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So you really can't use this card as a starter type Pokemon because it wouldn't be able to do any damage. So you're going to want to use this card ideally in a deck that has spread attack type Pokemon in it, where it does 10 damage to all of your opponent's active Pokemon. That way you can then do 50 damage to pretty much any one of your opponent's Pokemon for 2 colorless energy cards or 1 double colorless energy. So that's not a bad card right there. Like I said, just can't use it immediately. Then another colorless type Pokemon in Kangaskhan, 120 HP, so slow on the attack like Snorlax, but can do 100 damage with Mega Punch for only 2 double colorless energy cards if you put 4 of those in this deck. And then Tiny Punch does 40 damage for 2 colorless energy cards. So not a bad card overall, just a little bit slower, plus a high retreat cost. And this deck doesn't have a switch trainer in it, but it probably would work well to have a switch trainer in this deck. So, like I said, 2 Kangaskhan. Now we're going to move on to a line of Whismur and Loudred. 3-2. No Exploud in this deck, so you could add that as well. So Whismur, 60 HP. Can be used as a starter type Pokemon because you can attack for only 1 colorless energy card, so 10 damage. And then Round does for 2 colorless energy cards 10 damage times the number of Pokemon that have the round attacks. So you would have to have, well, you could put all 3 Whismur cards in play, and then it could do 30 damage for 2 energy cards. I'll probably pass on that. I'd rather just do 10 damage right away and not have to worry about having all these other Whismurs on the bench. So then Loudred, Stage 1 evolution of Whismur, 90 HP, which is average. Smash Kick, sort of strange to see a Stage 1 only doing 10 damage. And then Stomp does 40 damage, which is below average for 3 energy cards. However, it does do 40 more damage if you get a heads when you flip a coin. So Trick Coin Trainer right there is probably a trainer that you're going to want to use. So now we're on to the Fire-type Pokemon here. Fennekin, Brazen, and Delphox. 3-2-1. You could always add Delphox Break. The thing with Break cards, though, is that they're so slow to actually develop and play. But Fennekin, a good HP for a starter type. 60 HP. 2 moves. Will-O-Wisp does 10 damage, which is a good move. And then Tail Whip. Flip a coin if heads. The defending Pokemon can't attack during your opponent's next turn. So another card that looks like a Trick Coin Trainer would work well with it. Now, Brazen, so Stage 1 evolution of Fennekin. 2 moves, only 80 HP. Destructive Flame does 20 damage for 1 Fire-type energy. Flip a coin if heads, discard an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, so that's not a bad move. And then Crackling Ribbon does 30 damage for 2 double colorless energy cards. So we'll see what Delphox brings to the table here. Talked about it on the back of the box. 140 HP, 2 moves. Flickering Flames does 40 damage, plus puts the defending Pokemon to sleep for only 1 Fire-type energy card. And then Psystorm does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to all Pokemon in play. So this is a great move right here. Just think you need 3 energy cards on Delphox to use Psystorm, so that does 60 damage. Let's say you have another 4 energy cards on all of your other Pokemon combined. Well, this is all Pokemon in play, yours and your opponent, so it can really dominate. So this is a card that I definitely think about using in a Fire-type deck. So I like this card quite a bit. So I like Delphox, I like Lugia, how it can attack EX cards. I think Kangaskhan's very good, especially if you're using double colorless energy. And then we have another strong Pokemon here in Moltres. This is a legendary. I call it a bird. It's called a flame Pokemon in the description there. HP of 120 and then combustion, 20 damage for 1 energy card. I mean, you could use this as a starter type Pokemon. It has a low retreat cost and a high HP. And then Flying Flare for 4 energy cards. you could always use a burning energy, which I believe doesn't allow you to discard it ever. It always comes back. It says you may do 40 more damage if you do. This Pokemon does 20 damage to itself, so if you had a potion trainer in here, you'd be able to heal 30 damage, but it does do a fair amount here. Could do up to 120 damage for 4 energy cards. Okay, next up here, there's Whimsicott and Cottonee, a 2-2 line. So I'll get to those here. Cottonee, this is a fairy type Pokemon here. 10 damage with Fairy Wind for 1 energy card. 50 HP, so a little lower HP, but not a bad starter type Pokemon. And then Whimsicott, a good HP for stage 1. Only one move that's called Light Steps. It says move an energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So really you're going to have to keep adding energy and energy and energy to Whimsicott, unless you have a way to freely move energy cards from one Pokemon to another. So I do like that Light Steps does above average damage. I don't like that it always makes you move an energy card. So 2 and 2, and then there's a Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff line, 2 and 2. So Jigglypuff, a good HP, and 2 good moves, Pound and Roll Out. This is pretty much the perfect example of a good, solid starter type Pokemon where it can attack for 1 energy card or 2, and it can do damage on both moves. So I really like that card for a starter. So 2 of those, and then 2 Wigglytuff. And Wigglytuff, a good HP for stage 1. 2 moves, all colorless energy. Expand and Double Slap are the 2 moves. Expand, 30 damage for 2 energy cards during your opponent's next turn. Any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 30. So unless the Pokemon attacking Wigglytuff can do more than 90 damage, Expand is definitely a great move to have. And then Double Slap does 60 damage times the number of heads you get when you flip 2 coins. So you definitely want to use a Trick Coin Trainer there to give you a better shot at getting 2 heads when you flip 2 coins. So the last Pokemon here is Snubbull. There's not a Granbull or anything, so that's another card that you could add. But Snubbull, 2 of these, 70 HP, so it seems like the fairy type Pokemon for the most part outside of Cottonee have good HP. It says it has 1 move, 70 HP, a little higher retreat cost though, but for 50 damage it says flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. So this card really does nothing for me because number 1, it requires 2 energy cards to attack, and then it may not even do any damage at all, which is quite disappointing. But you could see what Wigglytuff looks like, and it may be worth it to use Snubbull in the active Pokemon spot for 1 turn, give it a shot on Ruckus, and then evolve it the next turn. So as far as Pokemon go, if I was thinking back to compare these Pokemon to the Battle Ruler theme deck, I think I like these Pokemon a little bit better. I really like Delphox quite a bit. Lugia has good potential. Kangaskhan, if you modify the deck a little bit to have double colorless energy, is pretty good. I like how the fairy type Pokemon have, for the most part, like I said, outside of Cottonee, above average HP, and then a lot of the cards in this deck require only 1 or 2 energy cards to attack. So I wouldn't say these cards are great by any means, but I would say they're better than the other Fates Collide theme deck. So I would give this a 3 out of 5 rating for the cards in this deck. So now we're on to the trainers, and usually between the 2 theme decks, they're pretty similar. And right on the top is Energy Pouch, and there's one of these in the other theme deck as well. This is a new trainer to the Fates Collide set. It allows you to attach this card to a Pokemon. If that Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you get to move the energy cards attached to that Pokemon back into your hand. And it makes sense, especially on Moltres, when you're putting 4 energy cards on it, to use Flying Flare to attach Energy Pouch to it. So I think this card makes more sense in this deck as opposed to the other theme deck. Fairy Drop, another new trainer. It heals 50 damage from one of your Pokemon that has any fairy type energy attached to it. So a very good trainer here that ties specifically to the type of Pokemon in this deck. Pokemon Center Lady, a standard supporter, heals 60 damage, and remove all special conditions from one of your Pokemon. Supporters, of course, you only can use one per turn, but it heals quite a bit of damage there. Pokemon Fan Club, and just one of these. It says search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand. This card makes more sense in this deck because it's heavy on basic Pokemon with Lugia and Moltres and Snorlax and Kangaskhan, all basic type Pokemon. And then Professor's Letter, 2 of these, and it allows you to search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. You just want to make sure each turn you can attach at least 1 energy card to one of your Pokemon, because you're really missing out if you don't have any energy cards in your hand and you can't attach them to one of your Pokemon. So Shauna, 2 of these supporters, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards. So a good way to recycle the cards in your hand. If you've used the supporters you wanted, or maybe there's a stage 1 that you don't have the basic out in play yet, you can recycle your hand, draw 5 new cards, and hopefully get better cards. Another supporter here, Tierno, 2 of these, just allows you to draw 3 cards. Maybe if you're lacking on energy, it could give you a shot at another energy card or 2. And then Ultra Ball, 1 of these, and it says to discard 2 cards from your hand, and it says to search your deck for Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. I actually don't like this card as much because you have to discard more cards than you're going to take into your hand. Plus, I just don't like discarding cards in general. And then the final trainer here is Wally. It says to search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon. And this card works well because we don't have any EX in this deck. Of course, you could choose to put an EX in here if you'd like. Most of the newest decks out there in the metagame are based around EX cards, but for beginners, it's always good to just go with whatever strategy they already have outlined in the theme decks. But there are the trainer cards. I really don't see anything terrible either way. I do like that a couple of these are pretty specific to this deck, like Fairy Drop and Energy Pouch. But overall, 3 out of 5 rating for the trainers. And then it comes to the energy cards. Fire Energy and Fairy Energy, 18 total combined, 10 Fire, 8 Fairy. And I get asked all the time, what's the best way to get energy cards? I think it's actually buying theme decks like this of a type that you want, or you can buy Elite Trainer boxes. And then online, a lot of places sell energy cards in bulk for 15 cents an energy card. They're pretty cheap. So really, if you can go online and shop, that's the cheapest place. Otherwise, if you have to go to a retail store, I would recommend these theme decks. But there you have it. There is the Sky Guardian deck reviewed. I would say overall, this is a 3 out of 5 deck. Pretty average overall. Between the 2 theme decks from the set, I like this one a little bit better. Both can really have a lot of modifications done to them to make the decks quite a bit better. But if you're just going to go out and play a deck without any modifications to it, I would go out and recommend this deck to buy. But there you have it. Now, of course, it comes to the time for the giveaway. And you'll find complete rules to entry in the description of this video. But all you have to do is you have to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then in the comment section of this video, say which Pokemon you like more. Either Lugia or Zygarde. Basically, it's the 2 featured Pokemon in each of the theme decks from the Fates Collide set. So say what you like better, Lugia or Zygarde. Remember, only 1 entry per person. And then at the end of June, I will be private messaging the winner. I'll be using a random number generator to randomly select a commenter on this video, and then I'll be private messaging them at the end of June saying that they've won this theme deck. So good luck to everyone. As always, before you go, check out all the links in the description of this video, including links to my blog, Facebook, and Twitter pages. And stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.